Alright, let's get started. The MacBook sucks because it's only got a single port. Coming from basically every other laptop ever, the new MacBook is almost laughably light on ports. What it does have is a single USB Type-C, which if you're only going to put a single port on a laptop, it's kind of the way to go. It's reversible, so no more plugging things in the wrong way, supports powering other devices along with charging the MacBook, has full USB 3 speeds along with DisplayPort or HDMI for using an external monitor. Not bad from this tiny little port. Right now, accessories that use USB-C aren't exactly popular, but there are a few, like this flash drive from SanDisk, which sports a USB-C port on one side and a full USB 3.0 on the other. For the most part though, you're going to need adapters like this USB-C to full USB from Apple. It works fine. You can even pair it with a USB hub to load up a ton of devices to the MacBook, but it's not the most elegant solution. On the flip side, you can totally use this with your collection of 3.5-inch floppy drives, which I mean is basically a necessity for a computer in 2015, right? Since USB Type-C isn't some proprietary Apple connector, you can pick up third-party cables like this full-size male USB cable from Google. This lets you do cool stuff like connect the MacBook to a battery backup or power an external monitor using the DisplayPort cable. This is great, except when you realize that using any of these forces you to be on battery power since there's no way to charge while using your only port. Apple does sell an adapter that includes a full-size USB, HDMI, and another USB-C for charging, but what will be a much nicer solution is just including two USB ports like Google does on the Chromebook Pixel. So is Apple completely insane for only putting one port on the MacBook? No, but adding one more would be a nice improvement. You can't game on the MacBook. On the surface, this seems totally plausible. With a fanless design that measures in at just over 13mm, the MacBook has more in common with a tablet than a gaming laptop. Under the hood, we're looking at Intel HD 5300 graphics, which while not blazing fast, might just have enough power for a bit of gaming. Load up a copy of Minecraft, and the MacBook handles it no problem, which actually isn't too bad all things considered. Install Steam, and we've got a decent selection of games that will work on OS X. Lighter titles like Super Meat Boy are no problem at all, and even Counter-Strike Global Offensive is totally playable 1280 by 800. Well, as long as you bring along a mouse anyway. A gaming PC, it definitely isn't, but for light gaming, it's actually kind of usable. The webcam sucks. That would be a yes. So the new MacBook is rocking a 480p webcam that is straight out of 2006. Now yes, it is usable on a pinch if you need to do a little bit of video chatting like on Skype or FaceTime, but it definitely sucks. The new MacBook is overpriced. Starting at $1,300, there is no doubt that the MacBook is one expensive machine. Looking just at the Mac side of things, the 11-inch Air comes in at $400 less, but that's not an entirely fair comparison. The base Air comes with 4 gigs of memory and a 128GB SSD, which is totally ridiculous for a premium laptop. Spec it out to 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig drive like the 12-inch MacBook, and the price difference narrows to $100, which is a little more plausible if only for the better screen. For a more apples to apples comparison, there's the Samsung ATIV Book 9, which is rocking a similar thin design with a 12-inch high-res screen, the same Core M processor, and it comes in at $100 more than the MacBook. The MacBook isn't insanely expensive, but it would make a lot more sense with a couple $100 price cut. You can't do real work on the MacBook. This is another one that sounds completely rational. All it takes is one look at the spec list to see some major red flags. A 1.1 GHz processor that's capped at 4.5 watts with no fan to cool it? For perspective, the MacBook Air has 15 watts to work with, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro has 28 watts on tap. In regular use, the CPU will boost up to 2.4 GHz, which isn't that far off from the others. We've got full Mac OS X, so running heavier apps like Photoshop is no problem. While it's a little impractical, you can also edit video on the MacBook as long as you carry around a couple adapters. I edited this entire video in Premiere Pro and it handled it like a champ. The export was a little bit slow, but the actual edit itself was no problem. It does get a little warm on top of the keyboard, but it's really not much worse than most laptops. As a dedicated video and photo editing laptop, it might not be the greatest choice in the world, but for the occasional bit of work, it's totally usable. It might be tiny, but the new MacBook packs a decent punch. Add another USB-C port and chop the price a bit, and this could be the perfect laptop for a lot of people.